Good morning. This is Ian Nethercott with the AutoHub show. Hope you're doing fantastic. One of our guests today, actually from the Automotive Manufacturers Association of Canada, is supposed to be on the show. Unfortunately, couldn't be on the show because he's on a plane going to Washington, D.C. Well, let's start the show this morning with a video. This is from a nice young lady who's now the GM of a Mercedes-Benz store, talking about her story. And then we'll get into the auto theft portion of the show. Here we go. Definitely check out the rest of that interview. It's on our new one-on-one interview series, which is available on our YouTube channel. You can get that off our website, which is obviously autohubshow.com. I did a survey in preparation for this show. And as I mentioned earlier, I was hoping to have a manufacturer's rep for Canada who represents manufacturers here. But unfortunately, he's on a plane going, ironically, to Washington, D.C. So I thought it would be an interesting survey to really talk a little bit about, what people think the solutions are here. And the solutions really, there's a few. Kill switches, better key technology, barricades seem to be something people are talking about, and then better laws and police enforcement. There seems to be a lot of blame to the police or government. So that's what was the survey results so far. Feel free to definitely take a look at the survey on LinkedIn and vote. There's still a couple days left. So welcome to the show, and here we go. Feel free to comment too if you have questions. Here we go.
I'm the general manager of Fred Bean's Key and Langhorne. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about Larry Feldman, Career Changers USA. Larry and I have been working together for about the last 12 years now, and anything I've ever needed as far as recruiting, training, Larry's been right there. Larry's got me salespeople, he's got me managers, he's got me technicians even through the toughest times in the industry, and he is just the kind of guy who's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. But Larry also has the expertise to back it up. When he was in the dealership world, he was a top performer. And that's really important to my staff, especially as it pertains to training. A lot of people can come in and teach out of a textbook, but Larry has real world experience dealing with customers, dealing with situations in dealerships that we go through on a daily basis and try to train on, but Larry's been through it, so he can really empathize with the people and tell you what's worked for him and maybe what way not to go. Larry is just always at a 10. I mean, his energy level is always up there, and I think people, they just love that and they feed off of it. He's not faking it. He is genuinely excited to come in and help you. He's excited to come in and help grow your business. And he's one of those people who just really enjoys seeing dealers succeed and have a lot of fun at the same time.
Life is about connection, having a support system to lean on, and roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, you don't want to be bothered? Fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. And not only will you have ads running, but your own staff is going to be promoting your brand and promoting themselves within the dealership and within the business. So it's like running an ad times 100-fold because your entire staff is participating in the process. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now.
Good morning and welcome. And for the first time in a long time, I'm actually doing the show by myself. I actually had a number of guests scheduled. Unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work out. And one of them was the gentleman who actually represents the automotive manufacturers actually in Canada. I had him on a show a while ago in reference to auto shows. And he's actually going to Washington, D.C. today to, I guess, lobby for manufacturers on the Canadian side. But the reason for the show actually is based on what he said on the last time I had him on the show would be a great idea for a show. And ironically, I was actually in the Greater Toronto area last weekend, not the one previous, but the one before that. And I spent some time with my brother-in-law and his wife talking a little bit about the challenges in terms of auto theft in his neighborhood. Now, I've heard a lot of it on the news in the Canadian market. I'm sure there's also some in the U.S. market as well. But the thing that was really, I guess, shocking or interesting to me was just how rampant it was in his neighborhood. He said not only did he have his car stolen, he actually recovered that car himself, which is probably not advisable. It was interesting, but also his next door neighbor had his car attempted to be stolen as well. So I don't think it's just about the type of car. I also don't think it's about the market per se. I think there's a lot of factors, but I know there's a lot of blame on the manufacturer's side and also on the political side. So when I did the survey earlier, and I'll pull it up again just for people who didn't have a chance to look at it earlier on in the show, this is what the survey that I did, which is actually running right now on LinkedIn, so you can definitely check it out. And what it was really about was, you know, who's at fault of this? How do you stop it? How do you prevent it? And more importantly, how can we do that moving forward? So I'll just leave it up so that you guys have an idea. But basically, the 4 options that I put up was install kill switches, which is actually what he did. It's a pretty old school technique, but works. Install barricades, similar to those pop-up barricades in front of retail locations or even physical metal barricades I've even seen. Better key technology, because I know there's a lot of discussions around how easy it is to break into smart keys and the like, and also better laws and police enforcement. My personal view is probably a lot of these options are good, but maybe not for everybody. The kill switches, just in case you aren't familiar, are a simple device that actually predates a lot of these smart keys where cars were easily stolen, but basically there's a hidden switch that allowed you to disable the car being able to be stolen, usually to do with flow of gasoline. Better key technology, I think that's probably needed. And law enforcement, in my opinion, is definitely part of the problem here, or the solution. Barricades, just in case you aren't familiar with those are the ones that pop up. They usually have them in front of retail stores. That way it's virtually impossible for someone to steal the vehicle. So when we're looking at automotive, we're looking at theft, we're looking at somewhat politics or somewhat laws in your local community. You know, we also have to look at it from a customer point of view. When you're looking at it from a customer point of view, you got to say, okay, I'm selling you this car. The car is one of the largest purchases people make in their life. And it's hard to, you know, a hard feeling when the car disappears on you. I noticed this for my brother-in-law very quickly because he got, you know, very, very angry about it with good reason. It's obviously a large purchase and something he depends on to get to and from his job every day. But also, when you look at auto theft from a customer point of view, there's been devices for years, anti-theft registrations, one of them, upgraded alarm systems, another one that was actually available when I sold cars back in the day. And I don't know if those actually protect vehicles. That's debatable. I hear car alarms every single day in my neighborhood where I live. But at the end of the day, there's certain countries even that have taken it more to the higher level. There's a solution in South Africa where essentially the car can eject flames when someone tries to carjack people. So there's definitely a lot of factors there. But when you're looking at protecting yourself, whether it be the club, a kill switch, a better alarm system, better home security, all those things, you need to understand that actually sometimes it's better to let the thief take the car, because cars are replaceable, people aren't. When you're putting yourself at risk for an object that's really replaceable, that's, you know, you really need to think long and hard there. I was hoping to have some insurers on, because the next thing that happens after auto theft goes on is insurance cost. So as you see more auto theft and more vehicles going to ports, like, for example, in Canada, Montreal, or in the US, various markets, you see an increase not only in theft, but an increase in insurance premiums because of theft. So when you're looking at the rise of auto theft, when you're looking at technology from an OEM or from a dealer perspective, technology from the greater industry at large. I know with my car on my phone, there's an app, and some people commented on the survey that apps, it would be great if the app could just kill the car completely. What was interesting is that's how my brother-in-law actually found his vehicle, was because of the app on his phone. He was able to track it down. Now, the thieves are pretty smart here, so they are able to disable this technology, but it's definitely useful to be able to track down vehicles in the short term. And one of the things that he said that was kind of interesting was that thieves actually had left the car overnight to see if there was a lot of heat on it before they then moved it to be exported, I assume. So the big question that comes out, and feel free to comment, is who's at fault for auto theft, in your opinion? And I'm not sure how to answer this question, actually. I think there's more. It's not that simple in terms of who's at fault. I don't think it's one specific person. I think you have fault from various levels of government. You have fault from the consumer that maybe left their car unlocked or didn't park it in a reasonable place. Or possibly you just have the fact that people that are stealing vehicles are just emboldened to do that because of lack of enforcement or lack of penalties. I think all those things have a factor. But also when you look at car theft in 2024 versus, say, 40 or 50 years ago, I think there's also, a challenge here, which is that, taking things in general has become much more commonplace than it was 20 or 30 years ago. I mean, you see it rampant in, different areas, the retail in general in certain cities. You see it in different countries as well. And Larry Feldman put a comment in, it's the thieves. And I would agree with him. I think that you have to put blame on where blame is. So really, I think government and the legal system is beholden to actually make sure that there's penalties in place as a deterrent for people to steal vehicles. I know vehicles are important and they're expensive, but more importantly, if you have enforcement that makes it costly for that criminal to not steal something, so it's better for them not to steal it than to steal it, they're probably going to find something else to do. And then the next question that really came up in my mind as I went through this was, what can dealers do to help customers prevent auto theft? And what products and services can they recommend that will actually help? I had some discussions with a number of individuals around the club, which is an old school deterrent. There's ones now with metal shields around it. I know thieves like to saw through a steering wheel or steering column. Obviously, kill switches are another thing that is definitely something dealers should be talking to customers about. You have various camera systems, which may or may not be useful in a car because the car disappears. But obviously, cameras outside of your home could be a useful deterrent, or lighting. These pop-up barricades are kind of an extreme measure, but definitely prevent someone from backing out a car or driving it off the driveway. So that's another whole thing. The other thing that I think my brother-in-law said was they tend to be targeting vehicles that are large SUVs. there tends to be less interest in electric cars because of the infrastructure in the countries where these cars are being exported to, which I thought was an interesting twist. But maybe also because the electric cars have a definitive range. And there are systems in the car that, probably mitigate that by telling people where they're charging it. So there's some interesting thoughts there on the electric car front, which I didn't anticipate. When you look at the factors, be it the car, prevention, technology, you look at government, you look at enforcement, you look at lighting, you look at safety and security. I know certain jurisdictions said, hey, don't stop the thief, let him take the vehicle. And there has been instances over the years of, say, carjackings. Realistically, when you look at it, some of it I think has to be blamed on society and the acceptance of, people basically being able to steal vehicles multiple times and being released and doing it again. So in my opinion, a lot of it is penalties for this and changing behavior. Also, there's a lot of organized crime doing this, probably has been for many years, but the scale of it obviously is increasing. I heard a statistic last week that something like 3 out of every 10 Range Rovers or Land Rovers are stolen. So part of it is also the brand of car that you choose or the luxury side. But actually, in my brother-in-law's case, neither vehicles were really high-end, what I consider high-end vehicles. But the amount of high-end vehicles on the street today might be part of the problem as well. So obviously, you want to look at that as you're looking at insurance. You're looking at the vehicle that you're purchasing. You're looking at where to store it. And you're also looking at how to protect that vehicle. I believe things like alarm systems, smart technology in terms of immobilizers, better key technology, that, obviously make it harder to hack those keys. Tracking technology allow you to remotely shut down the vehicle, I think is also a big advantage. And then obviously working with government, OEMs, dealers, and customers to enhance that owner experience, but also to really focus on customer safety. Because at the end of the day, theft is a safety issue. What if you had, say, a baby in a car and someone stole it? Or what if your wife or husband were in the car and someone stole it? So there's definitely a lot of things there. And actually, my brother-in-law's neighbor had a situation where his neighbor actually went outside and confronted the thieves and was able to not only stop the theft with a baseball bat of all things, but also, take valuable, stuff off the thief in terms of a knapsack that they were using to embolden them to do this. The technology front in terms of being able to start these vehicles remotely is moving ahead quickly. And part of it has to be really taken into account when you're storing things like smart keys, things like Faraday cages, if you're not familiar, or as simple as tinfoil or a chip bag where you're putting that in so people can't scan the keys. I know there's been some discussion in the Greater Toronto market where it's like, oh, leave the keys by the door so they don't break into your house and just, let them steal the car. I don't think that's the right solution to this problem. But I'd love to hear some thoughts, both on the survey and, of course, feel free to email me directly, ian@autohubshow.com. Being that it's just me on the show today, I think I'm going to cut the show a little bit short. But feel free to watch future shows. And, of course, that interview that I had up earlier today, feel free to watch the entire interview. It's part of our new interview series. We will be doing a show next week on the future of car sales in terms of remote video. So if you are interested in that side of the industry, in terms of how car sales are becoming more and more remote and how customers demand that personalized experience remotely, I'd be happy to have you on the show or, of course, answer any questions you may have. Thanks very much for taking the time to see the show today. I'm sorry I didn't have my good buddy from the Canadian Automotive Manufacturers on the show today. I'm sure he'll be on a future episode to talk about this topic. Have yourself a great day and great week. Bye for now.